morning, everyone. Thank you for making it out for this 9 a.m., the early session after all the mojitos. I want to say I was really excited last night. I actually recognized some of the songs, and so it was a big moment on some of those songs that I knew was going on after being here in Miami for a little while. As mentioned, I'm the Director of Financial Services at Amazon Web Services, and we really focus on the needs of financial services customers for Amazon Web Services and for our cloud computing business. You know, Amazon was a company started on the concept of customer obsession. We actually don't have a goal of being the biggest company in the world. We actually have a goal of being the most customer-centric company in the world. And so regardless of whether or not you think about things like the dash button that you can put next to your washing machine and simply push, and all of a sudden Tide shows up at your house, or whether or not you think about the drone delivery that we're working on right outside of London, actually trialing some of the drone delivery, or you think about some of the things that we're doing in checkout-less stores, like our new Go store, where you simply walk in and you pull things off the shelf, you can put it in your pocket, you can put it into your purse, you can put it into a bag and just walk out. Our goal every morning when we wake up across all of Amazon is to get our customers to say, wow. And we really couldn't be more proud to be on stage here today with FICO, because we really share that kind of culture with FICO. And so we're incredibly proud to also be the sponsor this week of what has been an incredible week so far. You know, the financial industry is moving incredibly fast. If it feels crazy, it actually is. Everything's changing. To give you a sense of things, back in about the 1960s or 70s, the average age of a company on the S&P 500 was 67 years old. Today, it's only 15 years. That means that most of the companies, over 50% of the companies on the S&P 500, the most valuable companies in public markets today, weren't here back at the turn of the millennium. You've got digitization in lending. You're seeing it across all of your businesses. The entire supply chain, the entire value chain is being digitized rapidly. And the notion of alternative assets, the new types of risks that people are taking, is growing at 80% between now and 2020. And in fact, what's a really interesting statistic is there's now more venture capital firms in the United States than there are publicly traded companies. There's more private equity firms in the United States than there are publicly traded companies. And so the risks that these organizations are taking on are in completely new forms. Simultaneously, the computing environments that we all have kind of grown up with over really the past 20 to 30 years, they're not keeping up. And in fact, a lot of CEOs today worry about the fact that there's more black hats than there are white hats, and that over 65% of them actually feel that their core security is not keeping up. Amazon Web Services was started with this notion of making customers say, wow. You know, back in 2006, a little bit earlier than that, we realized that we had gotten pretty good at building a world-class data center to service a large customer base. And so we set out on a new journey to be able to serve a new set of customers. And at Amazon, whenever we start something, we don't start big, we actually start really small. So how many of you are Amazon Prime customers? It's always fantastic to see, friendly faces. If you have any problems, let me know. I'll personally deliver, so we take that seriously. We start really small at Amazon. We start with what's called a single-threaded leader. We put one person on a really big idea. And we're all challenged to think big, but we don't start with big, massive teams. We actually start with a single person, and we start iterating on that. And that's how Amazon Web Services started. It was really started noting that we actually had this computing capability, and we could actually let other organizations use our computing capability. And so we started in 2006 with a single data center and with just 3 services. And those 3 services were computing, networking, and storage. And we started with 1 customer at the time. Now, the customer was Amazon, but all of Amazon did not use us from day one. It was actually, they just used a few of our services. Some of the parts of Amazon started to use us, and we iterated over these past 12 years. Fast forward to today, Amazon Web Services is a $20 billion run rate business growing at 45%. And that's not the thing we're most proud of. The thing that we're most proud of is the tens of thousands of partners that we have and the millions of customers that rely on us for computing today. Now, the notion of cloud computing, we've talked a lot about it this week, and FICO is a real pioneer in the use of cloud computing and the use of AWS. It means a lot of things to a lot of people. Some think it's literally just about outsourcing the hosting of your data center, or outsourcing some of your machines, or co-location. It's actually not just that. It's actually a completely new paradigm in computing. I've been in computing long enough. When I first joined Microsoft back in 2 years after they went public, I used to have to convince people that a mouse was a good thing. And then we had to convince people that 3-tier or SQL Server was a good thing. And then we had to convince people that the internet was a good thing. This is the next wave of computing. And as you've seen in each of those generations, the architectures and the paradigm has changed. It's completely changing in this generation as well. And it really requires a rethinking of your business and a rethinking of what services you're able to take to market and the speed at which you innovate. And so today, we have over 18 regions on a global basis to give you a sense of the kind of compute and the services that are available. And each region for Amazon Web Services is inside of a single country, so your data never leaves the country boundary. And inside of each of that region, we have 3 availability centers. And inside of each availability center, we have at least 2 to 3 data centers. And so we separate these things in the way that your regulators would expect in terms of like keeping them off of tectonic plates and keeping them separated and having all the kind of like redundant power and redundant telecommunications coming into this. But this is a massive global footprint of computing that every year we're adding additional data centers to. We have over 102 edge locations, which are high-speed connections into countries around the world. And as I mentioned, this is a completely different paradigm. This is not just about hosting computers. When we started with those 3 services, roughly about 2008 time period, we released just 81 features in 2008. The year after that, we released about 156. The year after that, we released about 280 new features. And then ultimately, just last year, we released 1,422 new features, and we did over 50 million releases of software into this environment. And we now today have over 130 services across every form of computing you could imagine. So as an example, in our compute grid, we have over 13 types of instances, whether or not it's really high-end GPUs. We have organizations that push into us with hundreds of thousands of CPU cores to be able to do a single calculation. Great example of what this means, Aon had a computing function that would take them 10 days. When they pushed it into Amazon Web Services, they were able to do that in 10 minutes. Take an organization like Novartis that literally wanted to compare cancer compounds against some things that they were working on. They estimated it would have taken them $39 million to build a data center and to build the kind of compute they need to be able to do the comparison around cancer in one area. It actually, when they ran it on Amazon Web Services in our massive compute grid, it cost them $4,232. Cloud computing is literally like electricity. You flip it on, you use it, and when you're done, you turn it off. And we don't believe in a business model where you have to be locked into us. We literally say you can join us or leave us for whatever amount of compute that you need. The other services, though, that are really important, so we have a technology like storage, like S3. FINRA is a great example of a user of our storage, our S3 capability. S3 has 11 nines of availability, or durability. And that means that whenever you put something in S3, it gets automatically replicated across that entire environment without you having to do a thing. So FINRA, as an example, as a regulator, realized they needed to be able to process over 75 billion events in a day. Every market event that comes in, they process. They took 90% of their data up into Amazon on S3, and they have a 20 petabyte database that sits there. It's one of the largest financial databases that's out there that they use to regulate the financial industry here in the United States. The other services, though, are equally rich. And I keep saying, don't think about this as just hosting. And this is really where I would tell you that FICO is really leading the way. We have a full array, obviously, of things like mobility services. We can stand up device farms to be able to test mobile applications. And we have a full array of security services and machine learning technologies. So our machine learning technologies are everything like the traditional TensorFlows and MXNets and the things that the data scientists really like to get into. But there's not enough data scientists in the world today to handle all the data problems. And so we're trying to democratize access to machine learning. And so we have higher level frameworks. And so we have technology that, like FICO is using, around things like Poly, which takes text and turns it into speech. We have Lex, which is the foundation of Alexa, that allows you to take text and turn it back into speech to text and text to speech between Poly and Lex. But we also have really exciting things like Deep Lens, which is our new artificial intelligence camera. And we have things like Comprehend, where we work with the CCS team to be able to do analytics on what is the sentiment analysis of the phone calls that are coming out of your call center. And did you get the person into the right spot in the IVR? We even have a call center product called Connect that we launched last year. Where we took Amazon's call center, which has over 60,000 people on a worldwide basis, and turned it into something that you pay us, again, just like a light switch, just on the calls that you use on it. And when you're done with it, when you're done with your peak time, you don't pay us anymore. And so all of these services, as you think about the computing that's available to you, it's not just about, am I taking something from this data center and moving it over to here? You're actually getting an entirely new set of services. There are a tremendous number of global customers that run on us, and this is really probably the slide that we're most proud of, is the people that trust us with computing. And we've got organizations that are moving all in on AWS. They're realizing it's just simply more cost-effective to use the computing grid that is secure and in the market and has the kind of capacity we do. So you've got an organization like General Electric. They have over 39 data centers. They're migrating 9,000 applications into us. Capital One has moved from 8 data centers down to 3 and moving their applications into us across their entire business. I can't talk to financial services customers without talking about security and compliance. And this is something that our team every single day spends a lot of time on. We have people that square off with the regulators around the world in countries everywhere that most of you do business. And we have thousands of people every single day that wake up and do nothing but think about security. And so what you're looking at up here, are literally the certification and attestations. So we have a full array of things like SOC 1, 2, and 3. We're certified for ISO 20017 and 20018. We're PCI certified, and we've been used inside of organizations that have been audited to be PCI compliant. So whether or not it's about OFSV up in Canada, or whether or not we're talking about Grundschutz over in Germany, or whether or not we're talking about the Monetary Authority in Singapore, we literally have people that are squaring off with auditors and regulators around the world to be able to provide the kind of evidence of resiliency, of security, and of the kind of reliability that you would expect. We expect the same thing. Together with FICO, we deliver a service to you, and you deliver a service to your clients. And we take our responsibility in that shared security model very seriously and recognize that this is not just about being able to have computing for a small fintech startup. This is really about being able to ensure the movement of money and to be able to ensure the privacy of the data that you all are entrusted with. So our partnership with FICO is really an incredible one for AWS. We are incredibly proud, as I mentioned, to be standing here on stage with FICO. It's been an incredible journey with FICO. FICO was literally our first AWS financial services competency partner, and the first organization to pass what's called our well-architected review in the financial services industry, which tells you a little bit about how forward-thinking and about how rapidly FICO is thinking about the cloud and what it can do for all of your business. A lot of organizations, I've had a chance to spend some time with all of you in the audience today over the past few days, along with our partners at FICO, and I was asked a lot about, okay, what does it actually mean to have FICO in the cloud on AWS versus just on-premise? And it's a couple things. First of all, it's about agility. You saw that second slide that I showed in terms of the speed at which the financial industry is moving. Today, a lot of large organizations, it can take them 4, 6, 8 weeks after the last line of code is written to get something into production, to be able to get a server ordered, as an example. For small companies, you have to make a decision between, do I buy that next server, or do I go out and hire more people that can spend time with my customers? Agility is about literally being able to move at the speed of business and being able to turn on compute and be able to launch the services that you want to, where you need to, and not have to worry about, hey, have I built up this TensorFlow inside of my environment? Are my servers ready yet? Have they been authenticated and served and so forth? This is about agility, about being able to literally move applications into production rapidly and iterate the same way that we do, which is get out as quickly as you can with a minimal viable product and being able to get customer feedback as fast as possible. And so first and foremost, this is really about an environment where FICO and AWS help you launch products faster in the markets that you need to launch them in. It's about scalability as well. Intuit is a great example of this. They moved over 33 applications over to Amazon Web Services at a sixth of the cost. And the reason for that is that their business around tax time is incredibly spiky, and then it drops back off. Most organizations run their data centers at about 20 to 30% capacity because at their peak, it gets up to about 70 to 80%, and they have to be able to engineer a level higher than that. And so you're sitting there most of the time with your compute unused. With us, you pay just for what you use. And with FICO and Amazon, we're able to handle the unexpected peaks in your business. And you don't have to worry about whether or not you have enough compute. It's really about, are you serving customers the right way? Security is at the core. As I mentioned to you with FICO, this is an organization that deals with PCI level data and PII level data every single day. And AWS and FICO together, between our security experts, spend a lot of time around this topic. And quite frankly, with most organizations, I would argue to say maybe all organizations, combined together, we have probably more security experts than any individual does on their own. And I like to say that when you're in the woods, would you prefer to be in a pack, or would you prefer to be on your own? And I would tell you that security between us and working on all the different types of security profiles and the security processes that we have, we're just bringing a level of security that many organizations can't do on their own. This comes back to innovation as well. Some of the things that have gone on with DMS, and certainly with Falcon and with CCS, this notion of being able to get that kind of data up in the cloud and being able to do petabyte scale applications, and then be able to take things like machine learning, be able to bring in IoT technologies, even be able to bring in some of the virtual reality work that we're doing, Lex and Poly. This is about literally being able to help you innovate new products for your customers faster than you ever have before, and having those services right next to everything else that's inside of your infrastructure. The last thing that this is about, our partnership, is really about customer obsession. As I've said at the start, we're an organization that is this customer obsessed, and we share the culture with FICO. And so this partnership is really about every single morning, FICO and Amazon Web Services waking up and letting you help your customers say wow, and our joint customers say wow. And so with that, I want to thank you.